everybody. Thanks so much for joining me here on another video from Staying Kingdom Minded. So today I just wanted to relax, chat a little bit with you guys about Down syndrome, about our youngest son's diagnosis, his birth, and so on. It's a little bit of a longer video, so if this is not a topic that you are interested in, I can understand why you may not stay. Otherwise, please feel free to stay as I share our journey with you guys. So Abel was born in March of 2015, and my entire pregnancy, I had no idea that he was going to have Down syndrome, and it was a huge shock, to say the least, for me. I'm sure it was just as well for my husband, but he tends to kind of bounce back, recuperate, handle things a little bit better than I do, and it was really a traumatic experience in my life. One of the most emotionally difficult things I've ever been through in my life. And to say that I wouldn't do it all over again would be a lie, because Abel is the absolute most perfect gift from God that I have ever been given. Obviously my other children as well, but the Down syndrome at first was very scary. The thought of Down syndrome, I didn't even want to say Down syndrome, those words. It was very scary. The unknown factor was the biggest thing that was scary. I honestly didn't even know anybody who had Down syndrome, so that made it even worse, because there was just huge amounts of what ifs, and what if this happens and that might happen, and you hear all the things that people with Down syndrome have an increased risk of having X, Y, and Z as far as diagnoses, disease processes, different types of cancers, bowel problems, heart issues, and the list just went on, and I was very overwhelmed. Being a mom of a newborn in general is exhausting and overwhelming and tiring. Your body has been through the ringer. Your hormones are just all over the place. And then to try to process and digest a diagnosis made that experience just very difficult for me. And to be honest with you, I was told when he was first born that I would look back on those days and I would think to myself, why did I worry so much? Why was I so upset? And so on and so forth. And I guess I can say to some extent that that's true. But honestly, the fear of the unknown is something that we all deal with. And I didn't know what the future had in store for Abel and for our family, and how him having Down syndrome either would or would not impact our, culture or our sense of normalcy in our household. So those things were a struggle for me. And to say that I don't still yet struggle at times would be a lie. Down syndrome has its differences, and one thing that I would say to any parent, especially mothers, and knowing how the enemy kind of really works in our minds, I would say, do not allow yourself to compare your child to another child, either another child with Down syndrome or a typically developing child, because that is something that I have struggled with. And you go to your well child appointments and they say, well, your child is this age, they should be this weight, this height, their head circumference should be this, and they put them on a scale and they map it out and they give you a percentile. And I'm sure that other mothers experience the same thing as myself, and they're around other people who have babies and their babies are doing all these different things while your child is back here not progressing as fast as the other children their age, or even some of the ones that are younger are surpassing them in their ability to do certain tasks, and it can become very discouraging. And so my advice, and that I need to tell myself daily, is to not compare Abel, to not compare your child to anyone else's child. This is the biggest advice that I wish that someone would have given me from the very beginning, and then continued to help remind me of this, because this is such a huge struggle. So when I had Abel, he ended up coming emergency C-section, and that was due to decreased fetal movement. And his dad was driving semi-truck that day. He was out of state, so he was not there for the C-section, but I did have family in the waiting room, which meant more to me than words. So I had him, and after he was born, no one was talking to me. They weren't telling me what was going on. He wasn't crying like I had expected. I'm asking, is everything okay? And doctors and nurses, and no one's really answering me. And it was just oddly quiet in the delivery room, which was very, very eerie feeling. Long story short, fast forward, I kind of just really did not know what was going on, and I was very scared. So I remember being wheeled out of the room, and they handed me Abel, and I looked down at him, and I thought, who are you? He just looked totally different than my other two children had looked. And I could tell that something was different, and instantly my mind thought Down syndrome, but I pushed that thought out of my head so fast it would have made my physical head spin. There was no way my kid could not have Down syndrome. The doctors would have already known. Somebody would have caught that and told me. I had blood tests done. There was no way my son did not have Down syndrome. I'm not even allowing myself to think that thought. So I pushed that out. I did not dwell on that, but I knew something was different. We get back to the room. My mom comes in with me, and I remember the pediatrician came in the room, and he began to say something about soft features and Abel having these soft features. And in my mind, still to this day, I'll never forget hearing soft features. He could have said it 1,000,000 times, because in my mind, over and over, that's what I hear. And so he began to explain the almond-shaped eyes, and he began to explain about an extra space between the big toe and the first toe, and he talked about a crease. So like how I have multiple creases in my hand, that there's something called a simian crease, which is just one straight line across the palm of your hand, and that is one of those soft features. And all these things would be indicative of Down syndrome. And he said it was not really going to be a huge thing we needed to get tested for right away, but at some point we would want to go to Children's Hospital and have some blood tests done just to see if in fact he did have Down syndrome. So what he didn't know was he'd just shattered my entire existence and then walked out of the room, and I was left with my head just completely spinning and crying and freaking out. And all the while, of course, I'm praying to God, and I'm just praying against this, and just that God would make all of this, just a bad dream. So let's fast forward. Abel had some respiratory issues, so he had to be intubated, and Children's had to come transport him. I spent one night in the hospital after I had him, and my husband went down to be with Abel. So I was discharged the next day and went down to the NICU. Abel spent a week there, and we tried breastfeeding. The long and the short of that was it didn't last very long at all. I think maybe a month or two I tried. I ended up just having to pump for a while. We switched to formula, which was much better for him. And it has been a long, long journey. He is growing. He is thriving. He did not have heart issues. He did not have bowel issues. Thank God he hasn't had a lot of the issues that kiddos with Down syndrome can have. And we are ever, ever, ever so grateful for those things. But I wanted to put this video out there for any moms who might be just having received a diagnosis of Down syndrome, to any new parents that might stumble upon this video and they have just had a baby who has been diagnosed with Down syndrome, and they are in that freak out mode. They don't know what to do. They're scared to death. This is going to change the entire dynamic of their family. What in the world are they going to do? Why did God do this to me? How could this possibly be happening to me? Where did this even come from? What did I do to deserve this? Just over and over and over, the enemy will insert thoughts into your mind, and he will try to beat you down and make you think that this is the worst possible thing that could have ever happened to you, and really make you feel defeated. And he will win if you let him. But I would say to you today to breathe, inhale and exhale repeatedly. It's necessary for life. And remember that there is a community of moms and parents who are there for you, have been where you are walking in the shoes that you are now walking in. And there was a poem that I read, and it was called Welcome to Holland. And I would not advise reading it while you're sitting in the NICU trying to breastfeed, because that's when I did, and that was just yet another thing to make me bawl like crazy. But it's an amazing poem, Welcome to Holland. It's very, very beautiful, and it truly does put into perspective this crazy journey of life that you are on, that you did not sign up for, you did not ask for, but you have found yourself in. So I would strongly suggest that you read that poem and just pray and ask God to help you on this journey. Please feel free to reach out to me, email me, ask me any questions, post in the comments, whatever you like. My son is an absolute blessing. He brings joy to every single day. He brings joy to every single person he comes in contact with. His smile is infectious. His personality is amazing. He is a praiser. No one praises like Abel does at church. He lifts his hands. He says hallelujah. He runs and dances. He is an amazing little boy, and I would never, ever want my life without him being a part of it, extra chromosome and all. So I plan on making some more Down syndrome videos, some day in the lives, some more footage of Abel, bringing him into the camera. He loves watching himself on the video, and this has just truly been an amazing journey for our family. Has there been struggles? Yes. Has there been frustrations? Many. Will there be many more? Definitely. Am I going to have days where I'm down and I'm finding myself comparing him? Of course I am. But then I'm going to pray, and I'm going to ask God, not only for myself, but for all of you guys out there who are watching this video, that he would guide you and lead you into an incredible community of Down syndrome parents and children, and help you to embrace your child and accept them and love them and give them that unconditional love and support that they need. And so I just thank you guys so much for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up. If there's any questions, like I said, that you have, please feel free to email me. The email will be in the description box below. It is stayingkingdomminded@gmail.com. And I just thank you guys so much for your support on this channel. And I thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't had a chance, please hit that big red subscribe button, and I will make new videos for you guys here soon. Thank you so much, and have a blessed day, guys.